W.
Now joining the program, friend of Ryan Fowler. I met the
In Phoenix, Arizona, covering the Final Four between Alabama basketball and the Yukon Huskies, and then eventually the national championship between the Yukon Huskies, and the Purdue Boilermakers. He is the host of Fox Sports National Radio Show, recapping college football, recapping college basketball. Aaron Torres. Aaron, welcome into Tuscaloosa. How you doing today?
I'm well, Wyatt. Yeah, I was going to be offended when you said a friend of Ryan Fowler. I consider you a friend as well, man. You've done awesome work. You know, some may say you're kind of the secret behind Ryan's success. I'm not saying that I say that, but there's a lot of buzz out on those Tuscaloosa streets right now. And in all seriousness, I joked with you guys before I came on about Ryan ducking out of the show this week, but I hope he is doing okay. In all seriousness, I know everybody listening knows, but Ryan never ducks from the heat, and I'm sure that, he was probably as passionate about getting back on the air this week as any week in recent memory. And so I hope he's doing okay. Ryan, if you're listening, feel better, buddy.
Absolutely. We hope Ryan is back in the saddle sooner rather than later. He called me and said, "Hey, can I get you to fill in for me today?" I said, "Hey, man, look, anything you need, I'm here for you." It's my job. It's my job to make sure everybody's able to run things as smoothly as possible.
I told you, you're the brains behind the operation. Everybody really kind of knows that.
I don't know about all of that now, Aaron, but I do appreciate the kind words.
Well, listen, I like I said, I'm not saying that you're the real reason for Ryan's success, but that is some, it's floating around on the message boards and the Reddit threads. That's all I'm saying.
Look, I get a lot of information from the message boards and the Reddit threads now, so
I hope you stayed off the message boards on Saturday afternoon and Saturday evening. I'll tell you that much.
They were not fun to scroll through and watch on Saturday afternoon and Saturday night. Let's go ahead and talk about this Alabama loss to Tennessee. A 24-17 loss for Alabama. Jalen Milroe did not look like himself. This offense did not look like itself, especially going back to the first half against Georgia. Aaron, after watching this team, the second half of Georgia, Vanderbilt, South Carolina, and now Tennessee, was the first half against Georgia, quote unquote, flukish, or are there just some things that they're having to reevaluate with the struggles of this offense?
They were able to jump out on Georgia. I'm not a scheme expert, but it seemed like they caught them off guard, especially with the Jalen Milroe runs. What I would say, Wyatt, and I haven't really heard a lot of people talk about this, listen, on my show, I've talked a lot about, the culture and the process and some of the little things and that stuff. But on the field, what I don't think I've really heard people talk about is that different games have created different problems. You come out of the Vanderbilt game, the defense is terrible. Kane Womack's got to go, blah, 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 this and that. Well, I don't want to say the defense wasn't a problem on Saturday because you gave up 24 second half points, but it was really the offense. South Carolina, the defense for the most part did their job. The O-line couldn't block, the South Carolina defenders. So I think to me, that's really one. It's why the Missouri game is so important. You're back at home. We know you have a bye next week, and then that LSU game, in theory, could loom large if you got to win this week. If you get a win this weekend. But to me, I think that's the thing that's a little bit surprising to me is you referenced Wyatt, Jalen Milroe struggles, but every week it feels like it's a slightly different problem, and it's almost like, you plug one hole and figure that out, and then a new one pops up, and that would be my concern more than anything if I was a Bama fan.
Absolutely, and, I listened to another show, and he's not affiliated with Fox, so I won't really plug him right now. But he basically says it's like plugging a dam with 13 holes and you only got 10 fingers, right? And so it seems like that's what Alabama's trying to do right now. They've got, like you said, they've got multiple different issues. You know, the defense is a problem. All right, well, the defense gets fixed. Now the offensive line's a problem. All right, well, that got somewhat remedied against Tennessee, and then Jalen Milroe struggles, and the passing game can't really get going. And so it just seems like there's so many different issues popping up with this Alabama team on a week-to-week basis. If you're Kalen DeBoer, how would you go about kind of, I guess, trying to get ahead of this, trying to figure out, okay, this is what we think is maybe the issue this coming week, and how do we start to remedy that before we get into a game on Saturday and you're down 14-0?
Yeah, well, all I'll say, Wyatt, is for all the criticism of Kalen DeBoer right now and that staff, I they have the better answers as to not only how stuff gets fixed, but what can you take advantage of in what specific game. And I think, that's the part of just being in the SEC, right? I mean, you just look at the last 4 games, Georgia's pretty good across the board, but, Vandy has a great running quarterback that makes plays on the run. Well, that's a little bit different than Nico, who, he made a few plays with his feet, but he's more of a pocket passer. Tennessee's entire defense is good. South Carolina's defensive front is good. And so that's what's kind of making it interesting. And listen, there's a bigger picture about the SEC right now, and that there's really no off nights where, you looked at South Carolina and Vandy in the offseason, and those felt like 2, slam dunk wins, whatever, blah, 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 this and that. But I bring it up because, Vandy obviously is tougher than we thought, and South Carolina clearly has NFL talent, especially on the defensive front. And so, again, I'll leave the scheme stuff up to Kalen DeBoer. I would say more than anything, and this I know is a conversation you guys have had all week, you got to get back to the basics from the fundamentals, from being accountable. I think it was C.J. Dupree. I saw that quote about, guys are showing up late, guys are doing this, guys are doing that. That's just not acceptable. That's just not acceptable. I'll blame Kalen DeBoer, but I'll say part of that's on the leadership of the team too. Jalen Milroe knows what the standard is. Jahad Campbell knows what the standard is. Tyler Booker knows what the standard is. And those were the guys. And I remember, I want to say it was maybe Jahad Campbell. I can't remember. But one of the star players in the offseason said, Coach Saban is gone, but our legacy is carrying on the standard that he set. Well, right now they're not carrying on that standard, and it has nothing to do with wins and losses. It has everything to do with penalties, with behavior on the field, with the little things that are correctable and fixable and need to be corrected if you want to continue to have success, because obviously right now this thing's going in the wrong direction in a hurry.
You mentioned C.J. Dupree's comments, and that's going to be my next question for you. Is there any major concern level with the fact that it's week 9? We're going into week 9.
Let me cut you off. There's absolutely a concern, because what and it's funny, and I didn't, I did cut you off, Wyatt. I can't say I didn't mean to cut you off, because I clearly did, but that to me is the biggest concern. It's not about talent. Now, I understand there's other talented teams in this league. There are teams that have other strengths and weaknesses that you might not have. But if you watch this team, and I put it out there, and by the way, again, this isn't all on Kalen DeBoer, but I put it out there on Saturday. I talked about it on my show. I talked about Nick Saban talking about this team a little bit at the Birmingham Touchdown Club. Listen, that is the big concern, is that if you're just watching and you've watched Bama for years and you know how they carry themselves, how they handle themselves, this is not the same team. And I'll tell you, I've had a couple clips go pretty viral on various platforms. But again, it's the little stuff. It's, by the way, members of the coaching staff walking into Neyland Stadium with cigars sticking out of their mouths. I'm sorry. That's embarrassing. That is embarrassing. And if that is how the coaching staff is conducting themselves, and I know it isn't everybody, it might have only been one person. I only saw one picture. But that has a trickle-down effect to the players. The Kendrick Law penalty at the worst possible time. I've heard all of Kalen DeBoer's explanations for going for it. The only thing that I can come up with is it was 4th and 7 until Kendrick Law shoved that guy. And I know that it should have been called both ways and they should have been offsetting, but it wasn't. And you have to carry yourself differently. And so whether it's the cigar, whether it's the penalty, whether it's the CJ Dupree comment, they're all the same thing, which is it goes back to the process. It goes back to the standard. It goes back to you have to do the little things right and the big things take care of themselves. But if you don't do them right, then things will not take care of themselves. And so Bama fans, listen, every SEC fan base has a negative, there's negative connotations of this is too crazy, that's too crazy, your fans are too crazy. No. Alabama fans, the ones that are being critical of the way the team conducts themselves, I think they're spot on. And I think this is something that not only needs to get fixed, but it does need to get fixed. And what I would say is, listen, there are going to be certain games where you go in and the other team has more talent than you. And that's in any sport, any level. But how you conduct yourself, how you carry yourself, that is something that you control. And that is something Alabama has to get back in control going forward.
Do you think it's fixable in this short window that they've got? They've got Missouri this weekend, a bye week, and then they get into another tough game, a probable top 10 matchup against LSU down in Baton Rouge. Do you think it's fixable if you're Alabama?
Oh, yeah, it's absolutely fixable because the talent's there. And it's, again, the little things. Now, I would add, and I'm not a parent, but I think anybody who has been in any type of leadership position is when you start to let little stuff go. If what CJ Dupree said is accurate and guys are showing up late, what I will say is it's hard to rein guys back in. By the way, it's not just Alabama. Listen, Georgia's the belle of the ball right now. Well, we know that Georgia's had their off-the-field issues as well, and I think that's probably how it started with Kirby Smart is, one guy gets arrested for this and, okay, we'll make him run and nobody will have to know about it, and then it's a snowball effect. So the talent is there for them to do it. There's not a team in this conference that's more talented than them. The issue is, will they do it? And I think that, to me, is and not only will they do it, but can the coaching staff rein them back in, and can they get them to cut out all the nonsense? So, yes, the talent is there for them to do it. The talent is there for them to win every game left on the schedule. If you win every game left on the schedule, you will be in that 12-team playoff. But it's got to start, and it's got to start now. It's got to start this weekend with Missouri, and it's got to start in a hurry because obviously we're running out of time here.
You mentioned the penalty on Kendrick Law, and I'm not going to talk about Kendrick Law. I'm going to talk about officiating here in college football as a whole. There were some bummy calls in that game for both Alabama and Tennessee, but then you've also got the big debacle that happened in Austin, Texas, with the pass interference call, the fans throwing stuff on the field, stopping play, and then the ref overturning the call. Where is officiating in college football right now? And how do you fix this? Because it just looks abysmal at all levels.
Well, it's a great question, Wyatt. And let me say this. I just talked about, Kalen DeBoer needing to hold his players to a higher standard. How about this? I think Greg Sankey's got to hold his referees to a higher standard. And I understand the idea that you don't publicly want to be going after your referees. You want harmony. But I was on air during that Texas-Georgia game. I was hosting here on Fox Sports Radio. I don't know if you guys were still in post-game coverage or not, but, we were on air when that happened. And Jason Martin and I were like, we thought, both of us, I was like, those referees have to be suspended. And the NCAA has to come down and figure out a way to make sure that this never happens again. Because at the end of the day, and I know, and I'm just talking about the Texas thing specifically, the SEC can say whatever they want. The refs can say whatever they want. We know that rule got changed, that call got changed because there was debris thrown on the field, because there was a delay in the game, and transparently, there was probably several replays on the big board that made the referees realize that they made the wrong call. The problem is, and Kirby Smart was 100% accurate when he said, listen, I know nobody likes to give Kirby Smart credit for everything, and he's a whiner, and oh my God, he always tries to play the us against the world. He was dead right, is that you have now set the precedent that fans should be encouraged to throw things on the field when they don't like a call in hopes that the game gets delayed and that we can overturn that call. So I could go on and on, But to me, where that, again, I criticize Kalen DeBoer and his staff for not reining in the players. Greg Sankey, I thought handled that whole thing really poorly. And again, I was on air till 2 a.m. Eastern, 1 Central on Saturday night, and we were there for the statement from the SEC where the SEC said, the referees huddle after every, whatever the statement was. They huddle after every play, and they have the right to overturn it, this and that. And Jason Martin and I just kind of shook our heads and said, this felt like a moment. And by the way, Greg Sankey didn't have to do it 10 minutes after the game. I mean, you can go home, you can think about it, you can chew on, what's the appropriate punishment. But to come out and to just basically say that this was standard operating procedure, that referees change calls all the time, it just felt like absolute nonsense. And it frankly not only felt like nonsense, it felt like nonsense that nobody believes, because let's be honest, nobody freaking believes it,
Absolutely. And it's certainly going to be interesting to see. Do you believe that there should be a national, do you believe officials should be full-time employees and held accountable for what they do?
I mean, I'd like to see it. Yeah. I mean, we got the money to do it. And I'll go back to something I've said for years, and, and I've said this, and it feels like other media members are picking up on this. I don't understand why referees don't have to meet with the media. If the media wants to meet with them, listen, you could criticize Jalen Milroe for this, or Ryan Williams for that, or Caden Proctor for this. Alabama's players had to go to the podium and answer for why they could not win that football game on Saturday. Kalen DeBoer had to go to the podium and answer why he went for it on 4th and 22. And I don't understand why referees are not held to the same standard. We can send an 18-year-old to the podium, and he can explain why he ran the wrong route, or he dropped the big pass, or he didn't pick up the block. But we can't hold a 50-year-old man to the same standard of, hey, and by the way, Wyatt, I know there's a 99% chance that he would just say what the SEC statement said of, we review every play and we huddle up after this and da-da-da-da. But so let's get it out of his mouth. And by the way, maybe there is a great explanation for why they made the decision that they did outside the obvious. So let them say it. Let's hear it. And listen, I know that, whatever, I'm going on and on, but the point I'm trying to make is, yes, I think that there should be a higher standard for which we hold referees. And I do think if there is a controversial play, now thankfully, by the way, that did not impact the game, but if there is a controversial play that people want answers to a question to, I think they should have to answer no different than Kalen DeBoer had to answer why he went for it on 22. So that's my take there.
Let's move off the negatives, talking about Alabama, talking about the officials in college football. And let's talk about something a lot of people are excited about here in Tuscaloosa. That is Alabama basketball. The Crimson Tide opened their season November 4th at home against UNC Asheville. Kind of what's your thoughts on this Alabama basketball team, and where do you see their ceiling this season?
Well, their ceiling is Wyatt and Torres hanging out at the Final Four again. That's the ceiling. And hopefully hanging out for 2 more days this time, as opposed to you bouncing out after the game on Saturday. But no, I mean, listen, what's exciting about college basketball being so close is, we don't have to talk in hypotheticals anymore. Ryan and I know you feel the same way. I just haven't talked to you about it, but Ryan and I have been excited about this team since it came together in April, May, and June. But now we get to see it against some other competition. And I think that team is really talented. I think it has, cutting down SEC championship nets, Elite Eight nets, and national championship nets on the final day of the season in San Antonio. They have everything you need. They have depth at every position. They have what I believe to be one of the 2 best coaches in college basketball, right alongside my alma mater, Dan Hurley. And the cool part is, like I said, we get to figure it out. Now, they have questions like everybody else. They've got, I've said this with Ryan many times, but they've got lifestyles of the rich and famous questions of they might have too much talent, which is a good thing to have, and how do you distribute minutes and all that. But no, man, I'm so excited to watch this team. And let me, I know it's about basketball. I'm still excited for football because I still think that you can right a lot of wrongs if you take care of business this weekend. So I'm still excited about football, but I am definitely excited about basketball too. And to your point, I can't believe how close we are to actually tipping off the start of this season.
I like to play devil's advocate here a little bit, Aaron. I do it a lot on my show from 11 to noon every day. What's the floor? for this Alabama basketball team? And, let's say, some things happen that don't necessarily work in Alabama's favor. What do you think the floor is for this team?
Well, the floor is a good floor to have relative to Alabama's history, and that's I don't see the scenario where they're not at least a tournament team. And I remember the year that they lost in San Diego. I hate to say it, but it was the night that Javon Quinterly got hurt. And I remember tweeting something about, wow, a little bit of a disappointing end to the season. And I had somebody from Alabama reach out to me and say, you understand that relative to what we've done, this is actually a very successful season. And so that to me is the floor. And I think you bring up a very important point, Wyatt, is this ain't the old days of SEC basketball. I mean, I think the number is 7, 8 teams in the preseason top 25.
Yeah.
Everybody's got NIL money. Everybody's got players. And I think the days of going 17-1, 16-2 in the SEC, I don't think those are happening anytime in the near future. Not with the way this league is constructed. You have great coaches. I mean, you just look at Ole Miss is in. Think about that. Ole Miss is in the top 25 going into the season. Chris Beard has coached in a Final Four in a national championship game. You go on and on down the list. We don't need to go through everybody, but the point I'm trying to make is, Oklahoma was picked to finish 15th or 16th. Porter Mosier's made it a Final Four. So I just bring it up because the talent across the board is really good. If you don't show up to play every single night in this league, you can get beat. And so I think it's a great question by you, and it applies to all 16 teams in this league. It's not just Alabama. But if you show up and you're not ready to go on any given night, you're going to get beat in this league in basketball.
2 more questions for you, Aaron. Do you have a breakout candidate for Alabama basketball this season? We know what Mark Sears is, preseason SEC Player of the Year. We know what Grant Nelson is. He's going to be playing a position he's a lot more comfortable in for the duration of this season, being able to play the stretch 4 as opposed to having to play the 5 last year. But do you have a breakout candidate, a guy that wasn't on this roster last year, which apparently is a lot of them? I don't know if y'all knew this. There's a lot of players on this roster that weren't on this roster last year. Do you have a breakout candidate, one of the newcomers, maybe a freshman or something like that, that is going to become a household name by February?
It's tough because the team is going to be so deep. And so, even Mark Sears, I think he is one of the most talented players in college basketball, but I don't know if he's going to play enough, get enough shots to be a first-team All-American, to be SEC Player of the Year, because there's so much talent on the roster. Listen, I think pretty much anybody, man. Obviously the big one is Big Cliff, and I think Big Cliff is the guy, and he's not really a breakout guy, but he just brings something that team did not have last year, which was obviously rim protecting, shot blocking, etc. So Big Cliff is one. I think Aiden Holloway has more than he showed at Auburn. By the way, apparently Aiden Holloway does too, because I don't know if you remember when he committed, but he said something about, it's nice to be with a coaching staff that actually believes in me. So, Aiden Holloway thinks he's got another level to get to. I kind of agree with them. And then I am obviously excited to watch the 2, I know there's several freshmen, but obviously Aiden Sherrill and Darian Reed, I think, are both going to be very good as well.
Last question for you. Are you wanting the Alabama-UConn rematch as much as we are here in Tuscaloosa?
Yeah, I mean, I since we're not playing in the regular season, it would come in March and hopefully deep in the tournament. I'd love the Alabama rematch. As a matter of fact, I was going to tell Ryan this if he was there, but he isn't. Tide 100.9 is my UConn basketball good luck charm, because there was a kid who committed to UConn last week while I was on the show with Ryan, and then there's actually another kid committing later today who is projected to end up at UConn. So Tide 100.9 is kind of my good luck charm. But yeah, I mean, I would take one. I mean, I don't know if that would make me the least popular person in Tuscaloosa if Alabama ends up playing UConn again. But other than that, I'd be excited to watch that game. It'd be a great game.
Aaron, thank you so much for joining me, and thank you for being flexible with Ryan being out of the lineup today. Take as much time as you need and plug everything that you're up to. I know it's a lot, and you're doing a lot of great stuff.
Oh, thank you, man. Yeah, no, just the Aaron Torres podcast. That runs, basically every day, 4 or 5 times a week. Covering college sports. We've talked a lot about Bama the last couple of shows. It's the biggest story, in my opinion, in college football right now. So make sure you're following the Aaron Torres podcast. If you want to subscribe to YouTube, we're closing in on 45,000 subscribers there. And then, my social media is at Aaron_Torres on Twitter. And we do have our Torres on Bama page. It's run by a Bama student who helps me keep up to date on all things Bama and all the news cycles. So if you are on Twitter, Aaron_Torres and Torres on Bama.
Aaron, thank you so much for joining me, man. Have a great rest of your day.
Awesome. Thank you, man. Roll Tide. RTR. Roll Torres. Roll. Thank you, man.
Roll Torres. Roll. Thank you so much, Aaron, for joining us here. We're going to go to break here. When we come back, we'll start taking some phone calls, and we'll have Martin Houston joining us at 3 p.m. We'll shuffle some things around a bit. Martin will help me break down Alabama and Tennessee, and then do a little bit of previewing of Alabama and Missouri at 3 p.m. At 3:30, we'll talk with Drew DeArmond. But in the next segment, your phone calls right here on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing. Call Paul at 205-331-6823. Custom curbing for your home or business. Do away with those plastic individual stone borders. Go for that more permanent, decorative concrete border. No more grass growing between those individual stones. Cleaner to edge to maintain. It is they're willing to travel, not just here in Tuscaloosa, but also in our neighboring states as well over in Mississippi. Many colors and choices. They'll customize for that individual taste and house. Give them a call at 205-331-6823. You can also go to their Facebook account, find their page. You can see exactly what the videos. They came out, did a free quote. Paul gave me an evaluation. Give them a call, 205-331-6823. Free quotes and evaluation. It is Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing. Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing. Call Paul at 205-331-6823.
There is no price tag on love. It's not in your bank account or in your retirement fund. And the price tag isn't the point when you shop at Fincher and Osmond. The point is, you love her. And if your budget is $200 or $20,000, it's here at Fincher and Osmond. And she'll love it.
I'm Tom Osmond, your jeweler at Fincher and Osmond Jewelers. Not so easy to find on McFarland, between Edgar's and local routes.
The Pharmacy at Midtown with TJ Thomas, 205-752-0627, pharmacymidtown.com. Don't forget about the retail side of the Pharmacy at Midtown. It's an independent-owned pharmacy specializing in walk-in prescriptions, medicine on time packaging, which increases that independent compounding needs. The only sterile compounding facility in Tuscaloosa is the Pharmacy at Midtown with TJ Thomas.
Order for Jennifer C. Is this my double shot, double cream, double frost, double pump, double hot, double whip, double sleeve? Yeah. Can you handle that much caffeine? Did you know Discover automatically doubles all the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year? Well, I do now. Seriously, did you know Discover automatically doubles all the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year? Yeah, you just said that. Did you say I just said that? Yeah, I'm cutting you off. Did you say you're cutting me off?
You earn, we match. Unlimited cashback match. See terms at discover.com/credit.
As weather changes here in West Alabama, Adams Heating and Cooling, the professionals that you trust, it's our good friends at Adams Heating and Cooling. Don't forget about the Express Comfort Priority Services membership. Your chance to save a ton of cash, no cost to join. Membership is free. Express Comfort Priority Services membership, your chance to save on all repairs, today's repair and the future repairs. No overtime charges on weekends and holidays. No hassle guarantee. Adams Heating and Cooling, 205-872-0045. DanielMooreArt.com. Daniel Moore Art celebrates those special moments of Alabama football history like 4th and 31, Jalen Milroe connected with Isaiah Bond, or the legacy continues with all the great memories of Alabama Crimson Tide football. You can celebrate Coach Saban with a Nick Saban print, the limited edition canvas. You could also find many of the great mini prints. Celebrate that special Alabama fan in your life. DanielMooreArt.com. The game, that's the code word for a significant discount. And when you check out, tell them that you heard about it right here on the game. DanielMooreArt.com. TownSquareMedia.com.
The Town Square Media Big Buck Contest is back October 15th through February 10th. There'll be an open range division winner, youth division winner, overall winner, and weekly winners. The overall winner will receive a free shoulder mount from Hicks Taxidermy. The other winners will receive sponsor prizes. Take your buck to be stored at the new location of Hicks Taxidermy on 69 North and Northport, just before Carroll Creek Baptist Church. Sponsored by Cypress Supply, Military Surplus R Us, Junction Grocery, and Northwest Supply.
Let's bring the nail gun over here.
Jose stands tall atop his sustainable flooring company.
Totally. It's renewable and moisture resistant, but we have several green options too. Or we got some beautiful reclaimed oak. No.
Floored by his success, he needs to hire more installers.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Put our matching platform to work so you can spend less time searching and more time connecting with talented candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
New Life Art is pleased to announce Daniel A. Moore's newest creation, The Legend, a tribute to Nick Saban, the greatest college football coach of all time. Celebrate his legendary 17 seasons and 6 national championships at the capstone with your own limited edition fine art commemorative print or canvas. Also now available, the 2025 Crimson and White Fine Art Calendars featuring the legend and Coach Saban. Order now at DanielMooreArt.com.
Award-winning singer-songwriter Scotty McCreery, Fall of Summer Tour. And solo. Saturday, November 16th, 8 p.m., Pearl River Resort, Silver Star Convention Center. One of country's hottest stars, Scotty McCreery. On sale now at PearlRiverResort.com. New album, Rise and Fall, available now. Scotty McCreery live.
Dos Amigos, Highway 69 in the new Public Shopping Center. 11 a.m. opening, 10 p.m. Friday and Saturday closing at 9, Sunday through Thursday. Some great Mexican cuisine, the great fajitas, the great desserts, the great lunch specials. You'll find it at Dos Amigos in the Public Shopping Center on Highway 69. Takeout orders always an option at 205-737-7344, 205-737-7344. Dos Amigos.
Join Tide 100.9 this Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. for Fridays at the Free. Come see Wyatt Fulton broadcasting live at Insfree Irish Pub and enjoy some great pub food with an Irish flair, including that signature Irish gold sauce. Come have Insfree's Lucky Lunch, a delicious meat and 3, and let Tide 100.9 get you ready for the Bama game this weekend. Fridays at the Free, every Friday during football season with Tide 100.9 and Insfree Irish Pub, located at 1925 University Boulevard, downtown.
Attention, those of you looking to go on a fun vacation and see the world on the cheap. Today, the U.S. dollar is worth even more in other countries. So there's never been a better time to travel outside the USA. The dollar is worth over $1.30 in Canadian dollars. And it's the same for Australia. You can fly there today and have fun and maximize your travel dollar. Your U.S. dollar is worth over $3 in Brazilian real. And it's worth over $18 in Mexican pesos. Plus, in Argentina, it's worth over $27 in Argentine pesos. Just think of the bargains you'll get. And the way you get the cheapest airfare to any destination is by calling Tickets That Cheap. Save up to 75% on your foreign vacation ticket. Don't wait. Call now.
800-426-1886. 800-426-1886. 800-426-1886. That's 800-426-1886.
Blue Spring Living Water is located in Bluntsville, Alabama, Blount County, about an hour north of Birmingham. Blue Spring Living Water is harvested and bottled from a centuries-old natural spring on a private family farm. Blue Spring is an all-natural water source that flows just under 1 million gallons a day. They have partnered with Waterway of Alabama, and they've been in the water delivery business for over 30 years to have Blue Spring Living Water delivered right to your home, right to your front door every month. New customers get their 5 jugs for $50, and the empties are exchanged every month for new ones. I know we have it at the Fowler household. We drink more water because of BlueSpringLivingWater.com. You can sign up at 205-602-3426. Talk to someone directly. Blue Spring Living Water can also be found Mark's Mark, downtown Northport, Publix, Piggly Wiggly, and in the southern part of our listing area, Rouse's Supermarket. BlueSpringLivingWater.com.
Lowe's knows that to win the job, pros need the best prices. That's why only at Lowe's, MVP's Pro Rewards members can get a volume discount on eligible orders as low as $1,500 at the Pro Desk. That means you get the prices you need to start any job, small or large, because Lowe's knows pros. Valid in-store only. More terms and restrictions apply. Visit Lowe's.com/terms or Pro Desk for details.
The Game with Ryan Fowler, powered by Tuscaloosa Toyota, on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Oh, the day I was born.
If you're just tuning into the program, I am not Ryan Fowler. I am Tide 100.9 brand manager Wyatt Fulton. Ryan's a little bit under the weather, so he called me up and asked if I could fill in. Told him I would do so. We're back. Excuse me, I'm so sorry about that. Joining me now on the program, he's going to hang out with us till about 3:15. Our 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. show host, a member of the 1992 National Championship team, Martin Houston. Martin, how you doing today?
Doing well, man. Glad to be in with you on the game.
Appreciate you joining me, man. Let's talk a little bit about Alabama, Tennessee. We don't have a ton of time right here, but we'll really dive into a lot of stuff here at the top of the hour. Alabama and Tennessee. What were your thoughts on the loss there, Martin? Alabama's 24-17 loss.
Well, disappointing, first and foremost, I guess if I had to give a one-word answer, disappointing. Unfortunately, still seeing some things that bother me. And one of the biggest things I see is just the passion and fire. But I think this passion and fire has been building. Wyatt, I said this 10 years ago after we had proven that Nick Saban was going to be great and win championships, and we had won several. It may not be 10 years ago, but I guess it's pretty close to 10 years ago. We had won 2 or 3, and I said, it's going to be interesting to see what happens when this team feel like they don't have anything to play for. Unfortunately, Wyatt, or fortunately for us, it never happened under Saban. I thought it was going to happen last year, and it didn't. And they just still always had, even if it was a backdoor way in. I just wonder if this team understands. They talk about Bama standard. What they mean is Bama winning. Bama standard is far greater than the W. When I played here, it was about representing not just whether you won, but representing that crimson jersey. And that went with you on the field, in the classroom, when you went home on the weekend with your family and all of that. And when you bring in a bunch of guys and tell them, hey, if you come here, it's your pathway to the NFL and you can win championships. Well, what happens if one of those goes away? And I think it's more Saban guys, and people don't want to hear this. The problem is the Saban guys, not the DeBoer guys.
You bring up an interesting point because the players that sound like we've kind of maybe not necessarily had an issue with, but some of the guys who have had on the field outbursts, right? Kendrick Law, Malachi Moore, guys who were here for a couple of years under Saban. But the guys who aren't having the issues, Martin, it's C.J. Dupree, Parker Brailsford, Jeremy Bernard, and I know Jalen Milroe is another one of those guys. I'm not saying that it's the Saban guys that are the main problem. I'm not saying, Saban's players are the issue, but it is still interesting to see that some of these newer guys, some of the guys who didn't necessarily not stick around, but some of the guys who weren't necessarily a part of the process for as long as Coach Saban was here, they don't seem to be the ones that are, having the outbursts, having these types of situations where appear concerning to a lot of Alabama fans.
Let me ask you this. I listened to you talk to Aaron and you ask him, hey, can this be fixed? Yeah, it can be fixed because I don't think it happened until we lost. I don't think the detail thing was an issue the first 4 or 5 games of the season. I think everybody was bought in, at least on the surface. remember, Saban had to get the guys to buy in, and I said this a little bit yesterday with Ryan, but it was in a different time frame, so I'll repeat it. But those guys, Saban couldn't get 6 and 7 guys to buy in to his way of winning, right? Well, these guys think they know how to win, right? And so when the new coach comes in, they think they know how to win, and they do know how to win, but they've won a certain way. Well, as long as the coach and things are going their way, Wyatt, they appear to be all bought in, right? But the moment adversity happens, did some of these guys want their own way? And do they, because of the NIL and the transfer portal, have this coaching staff kind of by the gonads and holding them hostage in some ways to the way they want to do things? And because tell me where you've seen, if you trace his history, where have you seen DeBoer have an issue with discipline? Everybody talk about he's just not a disciplined coach. Everywhere he's played, his players have played. Everywhere he's coached, his players have played discipline. This is an offshoot of what was going on.
You make a great point.
I mean, where has he so did he come here? And here's the question. And this is possible. This is very possible, Wyatt. Maybe he doesn't, there's some coaches who can flat out coach and develop guys.
Right.
And don't know how to deal with the thoroughbreds. They don't know how to handle that. And if they don't, and I'm not saying he doesn't, because he put 3 guys in the league last year at wide receiver in the first couple rounds. So he's coached high level. He put a quarterback in the league in the first round. But from a NIL new recruiting guy, only want to get to the NFL, what type of guys have he had that he's developed? Blue collar guys who are trying to do something for their team. And I think we have kind of a culture clash going on in some ways right now. And I think he'll win out, but it's different than it was, 15, 16 years ago, because they were losing. So once they lost and got embarrassed, it was easy to say, I told you it wouldn't work. With these guys, they may be wanting to go back to what worked. And this coach can't take them there because that's not his style. I don't know that. I'm just giving another perspective.
I like what you're saying, Martin. I like what you're saying about this stuff. Can you hang out with me for a little bit? We got to head to the top of the hour break.
Yep, I got you.
All righty. We're going to go ahead and head to this top of the break here. Martin Houston will hang out with us again until about 3:15, and then we'll take your phone calls right here on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
Whether you just found it or lived there for years, you'll never forget that feeling. It was something that made you realize this house would become your home. And since there's no place like it, it deserves protection just as special. So talk to a real person, not a website. Call your Allstate agent, Andrew Knipper, today at 205-722-9201 or find us on Facebook, Andrew Knipper Agency. Once again, you can reach us at 205-722-9201. Allstate, are you in good hands?
WTBC Tuscaloosa and W265CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing. Call Paul at 205-331-6823. Custom curbing for your home or business. Do away with those plastic individual stone borders. Go for that more permanent decorative concrete border. No more grass growing between those individual stones. Cleaner to edge to maintain. They're willing to travel, not just here in Tuscaloosa, but also in our neighboring states as well over in Mississippi. Many colors and choices. They'll customize for that individual taste and house. Give them a call at 205-331-6823. You can also go to their Facebook account, find their page. You can see exactly what the videos. They came out, did a free quote. Paul gave me an evaluation. Give them a call, 205-331-6823. Free quotes and evaluation. It is Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing. Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing. Call Paul at 205-331-6823.
This October, BMW of Tuscaloosa has it all. Ready to upgrade your drive? Enjoy special interest rates as low as 1.9%.
Plus, don't miss out on incredible rebates on new BMWs. Get $5,000 off our new 2024 X3, X7, and 2 Series inventory. October is the month of BMW, and BMW of Tuscaloosa is the place to be. Visit us now to save big and discover why so many are switching to BMW. BMW of Tuscaloosa. Take your dreams for a drive.
The Pharmacy at Midtown with TJ Thomas, 205-752-0627. PharmacyMidtown.com. Don't forget about the retail side of the Pharmacy at Midtown. It's an independent-owned pharmacy specializing in walk-in prescriptions, medicine on time packaging, which increases that independence, compounding needs. The only sterile compounding facility in Tuscaloosa is the Pharmacy at Midtown with TJ Thomas.
95.3 The Bear and Tide 100.9 want to give you a trip to watch the Tide play in historic OU Memorial Stadium. Win a pair of tickets to the game and luxurious hotel accommodations at the Concord Hotel for 2 nights from Pepsi and the Deli Press. Stop by the Deli Press at 312 Merchants Walk in Tuscaloosa and enter to win. Join 95.3 The Bear and Pepsi at the Deli Press Friday, November the 15th at 2 p.m. as we broadcast live and pick a winner to go watch the Tide take on Oklahoma. Compliments of Pepsi and the Deli Press. Roll Tide.
DanielMooreArt.com. Daniel Moore Art celebrates those special moments of Alabama football history like 4th and 31, Jalen Milroe connected with Isaiah Bond, or the legacy continues with all the great memories of Alabama Crimson Tide football. You can celebrate Coach Saban with a Nick Saban print, the limited edition canvas. You can also find many of the great mini prints. Celebrate that special Alabama fan in your life. DanielMooreArt.com. The game. That's the code word for a significant discount. And when you check out, tell them that you heard about it right here on the game. DanielMooreArt.com.
Kick off the holidays with the perfect tree from the Home Depot and enjoy free delivery on over 2 million items this holiday season, subject to availability. Visit HomeDepot.com for details.
We aren't a winning school. We are a championship school, and we make legends. Join the Crimson Tide as they look to continue to rise to the top of the NCAA basketball mountain on your home for Alabama basketball. Presented in part by BMW of Tuscaloosa and by Pearl River Resort in Choctaw, Mississippi. Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A warm afternoon. The sky sunny. The high today 82. Clear tonight with the low at 56. Very warm tomorrow and Friday. Sunny both days. Highs between 83 and 86. Saturday partly to mostly sunny. The high 83. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 83 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Dan Byer.
Carolina Panthers quarterback Andy Dalton was in a car accident with his family yesterday, and head coach Dave Canales says that the results of that accident will force the team to make a change at quarterback. Bryce Young to get the nod in Week 8 against Denver.
Scary moment for sure. Everyone was okay. Unfortunately, in the accident, he did sprain his thumb. So Bryce will be playing this week, and we'll be evaluating Andy day-to-day going into this weekend to see if we can get him up as the 2 on game day.
Another quarterback change in the NFL. Browns are going to start Jameis Winston at quarterback in Week 8 against the Ravens. Obviously, Deshaun Watson is done for the year because of his ruptured Achilles. The Kansas City Chiefs acquired wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins from the Tennessee Titans. Titans are getting a conditional 5th-round pick that could be a 4th from Kansas City. The Athletic reported the Chiefs tried to acquire Rams wide receiver Cooper Kupp, but this side could not come to terms on a deal. Titans also sending linebacker Ernest Jones IV to Seattle for linebacker Jerome Baker and a 4th-round pick.
Any way you want it, the way you need it, any way you want it.
A big thank you to Aaron Torres for helping us make it through the first quarter of this show. We are 1 hour down. We are 3 hours away from the end of the program. And at the end of the program, the Hey Coach Show with Kalen DeBoer will be live at 6 p.m. Well, the Hey Coach Show will be live at 6 p.m. The Kalen DeBoer Show will be live at 6:30. He will be joined by freshman standout wide receiver Ryan Williams. Right now, though, we're talking to a member of the 1992 National Championship team and our very own Martin Houston, the show host from 6 to 7 a.m. with the Martin Houston Show. Martin, you still with me? You hanging out all right pretty good today?
I'm doing great, man. Glad to still be with you.
Absolutely. And so we were talking about this Alabama loss to Tennessee. We were talking about some of the things, some of the issues that some of these players have had, the emotional outbursts on the field. And I asked Aaron Torres, is this fixable? Is it likely to be fixed? Obviously, the attention to detail, right? The emotional outburst, that's all off the field stuff. That's not anything with scheme. That's not anything with, play calling. That is just emotional maturity and being mentally ready to go for these types of games. Obviously, it is fixable, but do you think Alabama can fix it on the short window that they've got with Missouri this weekend and then LSU in 2 weeks?
Well, to me, I ask a question: what needs to be fixed? Okay, we saw from 1 week to the next. We saw from one half to the next. We saw two different teams, right? We literally saw a team and get ready for Georgia. And absolutely come out and dominate. So you see what the ceiling is. You ask, what's the ceiling for this team? Well, they can dominate the one of the best teams in college football. And then you see this coach take their foot off the gas, right? The second half didn't bother me in the sense of Georgia was going for it on fourth down and they were just chunking it up wide, and that just happens, right? But the mentality changed. Okay. That's the last time that I saw this team know who they were or let me say it differently, who they could be based on the talent. Okay. Here's what this coaching staff has, Wyatt. They have an offense that's different than what they have done. This guy that they have at quarterback is different from the guy they had at Washington, different than the guy he had at Fresno, and different than the guy, which was the same guy at Washington and Indiana, right? But different than the guy from Sioux Falls. So, yes, I think there's a certain style offense that DeBoer prefers to run. But he did what was best for the team, and it was evident in the Georgia game and before that they were going to run the offense through RPOs, read option, move the pocket, throw the deep ball, etc. You have a defensive coach who prefers a 4-2 base with some moving and stuff like that, but not a lot of blitzing, right? But against Georgia, they blitzed what some may think may be the first quarterback taken, and and he will definitely be probably the first pure pocket passer taken. And they made him look like he didn't even know what he was doing.
They made him uncomfortable.
It made but that's not the defensive coordinator style, but that's what the players and the makeup of his team does best is blitz and move around and all that. So since that moment, Wyatt, when they have ran Jalen Hurts, ran the offense through that, Alabama's looked good. When they have blitzed, going into the Tennessee game, 50% of the time when we blitz, we've caused the quarterback to hurry. I don't care what you like to do, Coach Womack. I don't care what your preference is. You inherited a team, and they play your scheme best when you add blitzes to it. So blitz. I'm sorry, Coach Sheridan and Coach DeBoer. I know you can create a 5,000-yard passer. Well, you can't with Jalen Milroe. You can create a 3,000 and a 1,200 guy with 40 touchdowns at the end of the year. Well, do that. How do you explain that we were leading the majority of the game? We were running the ball, but we threw it 27 times in the first half. On track to throw it 54 times and end up throwing it 45. How do you explain that with Jalen Milroe?
You can't. I mean, you take a guy like Jalen Milroe and his skill set. His skill set isn't to pass it 45 times. That's not a knock on Jalen Milroe. It's just not what he does.
It's not.
He's a dynamic runner. Use that. You used it against Georgia. You had the deception to clear out some defenders against Georgia in that first half, and it just seems like Alabama's gone completely away from what was successful against Georgia in the first half, from halftime of that game to end of the game on Saturday.
And it looks like offensively they're moving farther and farther away. It's like
it looks like they're making it more difficult.
Right. At least with Jay, I mean, at least on defense, we have seen him like he did. He started the game with a 3-4 I mean, a 4-3, three linebackers against South Carolina. At least we've seen, and then we saw him blitz Nico, and it works, right? So keep doing it. But listen, what would people be saying? This is what people don't get. I hate the term. I hear people say, well, Jalen's not a quarterback. Jalen's not a quarterback. Jalen is a quarterback. There's different ways to describe quarterbacks today. There is the pocket passer quarterback, and that's not Jalen Milroe. There's a dual threat quarterback, and that's not Carson Beck. What they did Saturday to Jalen Milroe would be as bad as Georgia coming out and running Carson Beck 25 to 30 times. That's how bad the play calling was Saturday for Jalen Milroe. And if you're gonna call it that many times, throw it that way, maybe you should give the other guy a chance.
Maybe so. I mean, if Kalen DeBoer is legitimately a lot more comfortable throwing the ball 45 times a game than he is, quarterback runs, using the running back as an extra blocker, maybe it is time for a quarterback switch.
Well, let me ask you
And I'm
this.
not saying it's not because of Jalen's play, but if you just cannot figure out how to use Jalen, maybe Ty is the better option in this offense.
Let me ask you this. What's the worst part of our offense? Pass blocking.
The run game.
No.
Oh, pass blocking too. Pass blocking. Yeah. My bad. We got so many issues. There's so many issues, Martin. We're not sure what it is.
But is the run game bad when you run it through the quarterback? No. The traditional run game. See, that's what we have to learn to say. We have to stop saying quarterback is bad because he's not a pocket passer. Lamar Jackson isn't a pocket. They're not trying to make Lamar Jackson Tom Brady. If they do, it knocks off his ceiling. It brings him from the 10th floor to the 2nd floor. Even though he would still be good, he wouldn't be elite. He's an MVP because they use his skill set. Well, why would you this is what I go. You have a quarterback whose skill set is to run. He's a mobile guy. And here's the part. Okay, think about our offensive scheme against Georgia. Jalen wasn't running the ball just because they were calling quarterback runs. Some of those were read options. And what are you taught to take away on the read option? The dive guy, right? So they take away the running back. Why anybody would take away the running back and force Jalen to run, I don't know. Except for the fact that when you play against an option team, what we didn't do against Vanderbilt is we never took the dive away. Right? They always had success on the dive, and they just kept coming back to it, and then they play off of it. Well, teams have said, we're going to take the dive away. So that's why Jalen is running it so much. This coaching staff, to get other running backs in, what they need to do, Wyatt, is change. Instead of running the dive option, they could run the option where the running back runs the outside portion of it, and Jalen runs the dive piece. And they would get the running back more involved. But what we've tried to do coming out of the Georgia game was get the running backs more involved, okay? And then we tried to use the offense to increase time of possession. And then the third game we did, and all we've done is take the rhythm of this offensive team and throw it out of whack. Jalen is a better passer when he's running the ball. He is not a straight-up backup passer. The running backs, when was the last time we saw an explosive play from the running back?
I'd say probably Jan Miller's touchdown against Vanderbilt.
Right. But before that, we were seeing even more explosive plays. Why? Because Jalen Milroe opens up the running lanes for the other guys. Figure out how to give them the ball more on the read option and make the defense take away Jalen from the run, but leave them. That's number one. When do we have big offensive pass plays? When the defense is up in the box or that DB is worried about run support for Jalen. We've taken all of that away, and now we're going to try to be a straight drop back pass team. Wyatt, we can't run the ball. This offensive line cannot blow people off the ball in a straight run game. This offensive line cannot drop set and be great pass blockers. What we've done since Georgia, Let this sink in, Wyatt. Since Georgia is we've said, okay, O-line, I want you to power drive guys off the ball, and I want you to be a drop back pass protection team. The two things that they do worse. The one thing that they do great is they move and they can get angles. And when you pull them and counters, we haven't done any of that the last few weeks.
You make a lot of great points, Martin. We got to get the break here. Let everybody know where they can find you and your content, Martin. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, thanks, man. And hey, listen, I went live on my live stream. You can join the Martin Houston Show right here on the radio dial every day from 6 to 7, and then the live stream for the live show, as well as other content that I threw out. Go to the Martin Houston Show on Facebook, the best place to find it. And from there, you can follow all the content and check out martinhouston.org if you have any questions to find out exactly what's going on.
Martin, thank you so much for joining me, man. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, Wyatt. Glad to be on, man. Have a good one. Roll Tide.
Right back.
Roll Tide listening audience, viewing audience. I appreciate you guys being a part of what we did today. Just had to jump on to help my buddy out. He's dealing with something, so keep him in your prayers. Hopefully he'll be back and at full speed. But I'm glad to be on here with you guys. I'm going to get ready to get out of here. I'll be back tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Thanks for joining, and we'll see ya on tomorrow. And, oh, yeah, the legacy. Make sure you scan that QR code right there in the right-hand corner. Get your legacy gear. Go ahead and be making some plans for Christmas. Season's about over, so you may not be able to get it for your season, but you can definitely get it. And that's just Legacy Collection. athletesthread.com/legacy collection/Martin-Houston. Roll Tide, everybody. We'll catch you on tomorrow on the Martin Houston Show at 6 a.m. right here on your home for Alabama sports in the Martin Houston Radio Network.